Good day, my friends. You were not born to simply exist. You were not designed to merely pay bills and die. You were created to grow, to expand, to multiply what's within you, and that growth is a daily demand. Life does not reward those who wait. It rewards those who prepare, who sharpen themselves intentionally, consistently, and purposefully. Let me share with you today 6 critical areas you must improve every single day. Not weekly, not monthly, every day. These are not suggestions. These are principles. And principles do not change. Based on seasons or emotions, they work if you work them. Discipline is the gatekeeper of your destiny. Without discipline, your gift becomes a liability. You can be talented, but undisciplined talent becomes a tragedy. Every day you must ask yourself, I'm mastering my habits, or are my habits mastering me? Discipline is not punishment. It is the price of leadership, purpose, and legacy. Your life will never rise higher than your thoughts. If you want to change your future, you must upgrade your mind. Daily, read books that stretch your understanding. Engage in conversations that challenge your comfort zone. Refuse to be mentally lazy. Because a stagnant mind is the breeding ground of failure. The wisest leaders are not those who know the most, but those who never stop learning. Your ability to speak, write, and listen defines your influence. Every day, improve how you express ideas, how you resolve conflict, and how you listen with intention. Leaders are not silent. Visionaries don't mumble. The world listens to those who can articulate vision clearly. Work on your words. Words shape worlds. No one fulfills purpose alone. Every great assignment requires people, the right people. Evaluate your circle every day. Strengthen the relationships that sharpen you. Distance yourself from the ones that drain you. Learn how to forgive. Learn how to honor. Learn how to partner. Relationships are currency. Some are investments. Some are expenses. Be wise with both. Purpose is not a side project. It's your reason for being. Every day, assess, am I moving toward what I was born to do? Or am I distracted by things that look good but steal my time? Busyness is not productivity. Activity is not destiny. Purpose demands clarity, and clarity comes from constant alignment. When you live in purpose, you don't chase success. You attract it. Your spirit is your center. When it is misaligned, your vision becomes blurred and your decisions become reactive. Every day, reconnect with your source. Reflect, meditate, pray, read truth. The most powerful leaders are not those who strive in the flesh, but those who flow from a rooted spiritual foundation. When your spirit is strong, your mind becomes clear. And when your mind is clear, your decisions become wise. Remember, greatness is not a single act, but a daily discipline. You don't build a legacy in a day, but you build it every day. So, improve yourself deliberately. Invest in your mind, your heart, your habits, and your spirit. And never forget, the world doesn't need another copy. It needs the fullest version of you. The greatest tragedy in life is not death. It is life without purpose, potential without development, and gifts that are buried under routine. Every human being is born with something the world needs. This is not motivational talk. It is a foundational truth. You came to the earth loaded. Within you is a deposit of abilities, insights, creativity, and vision. But possessing potential is not the same as producing impact. The key that unlocks what is inside of you is daily development. It is not enough to have potential. The question is, are you cultivating it? Growth does not happen automatically. Maturity is not a guarantee of age. It is a result of intentional effort. Just because today follows yesterday does not mean you've developed. The calendar moves, whether you do or not. That is why personal growth must be a daily pursuit. What you don't improve, you lose. Just as a muscle atrophies when it is not used, your gifts, your ideas, your voice, your influence, all of it diminishes when neglected. Your life must become a construction site where progress is ongoing and evaluation is frequent. Every day is a gift given to you not just to exist, but to expand. Each morning carries within it the seed of improvement. Whether you choose to plant and water that seed is what separates mediocrity from mastery. Daily development is not about perfection, it is about progression. It is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing something every day that takes you one step closer to your highest self. That step may be reading a chapter, writing one page, making one phone call, waking up 15 minutes earlier, or refusing one distraction. These may seem small, but over time they create momentum. You do not build character in one day, but you can lay a brick. You do not become an expert in a week, but you can study for an hour. What matters is the consistency of your effort, not the size of your effort. The danger many fall into is waiting for the right time to develop, waiting for inspiration, waiting for someone to discover them. But the truth is, your daily discipline is your preparation for recognition. You do not prepare on the stage, you prepare in the secret place. The most effective people on earth understand that private growth produces public impact. They understand that greatness is not a moment. It is a mindset built in quiet moments of sacrifice and structure. They rise with purpose. They study when others scroll. They listen when others speak. They sharpen while others sleep. Development also requires self-awareness. You cannot improve what you have not identified. That's why reflection is critical. At the end of each day, you must ask, what did I learn? What did I ignore? What can I do better tomorrow? Daily growth requires that you measure your own trajectory. You are not in competition with anyone but your past self. Growth is not about comparison. It is about stewardship. Are you stewarding what you've been given? Because everything you neglect, you risk losing. Potential that is not managed becomes pressure. Gifts that are not developed become burdens. And dreams that are not worked on become regrets. Another aspect of daily development is the understanding that growth is holistic. You cannot just improve your career and ignore your character. You cannot just work on your physical body and ignore your mental health. True development touches every area: your thinking, your speaking, your relationships, your habits, and your values. It requires you to check your attitude as much as your skills. It demands that you challenge your excuses, confront your fears, and renew your standards. Growth is not always comfortable. In fact, if it's always comfortable, it's probably not growth. Stretching is part of the process. And just like Physical stretching increases flexibility. Mental and emotional stretching increases capacity. Every day you wake up, the question is not, what do I have to do? The question is, who must I become to fulfill what I'm called to do? That shift in mindset moves you from survival to intentionality. It positions you as a leader of your own life, not just a responder to circumstances. You begin to take responsibility for your evolution. You begin to see time not as something to spend, but as something to invest. Each hour becomes an opportunity to build your voice, refine your thinking, strengthen your will, and pursue purpose with greater clarity. Daily development is the currency of influence. It is how you honor the gift of life. It is how you partner with purpose. You were never meant to plateau. You were born to evolve, to advance, and to transform not just your own life, but the lives connected to your obedience to grow. You are not here to repeat days. You are here to rise in them. Self-discipline is the invisible architecture behind every great life. It is not the most celebrated virtue, but it is the most essential. Talent may bring you attention, but only discipline will keep you relevant. Vision may give you a picture of what's possible, but discipline is what builds it, brick by brick. Without discipline, potential remains locked inside. Without discipline, dreams stay trapped in imagination. The difference between those who succeed and those who settle is not intelligence, beauty, or opportunity. It is the ability to govern oneself in the direction of purpose every single day. Discipline is the master key to mastery. It is the decision to do what is right, even when it is not easy. It is the ability to say no when your emotions scream yes. It is the quiet power that enables you to rise above distractions, resist temptations, and remain focused on what truly matters. Discipline is not natural. It is developed. It is a muscle. And like all muscles, it grows through resistance. Every time you delay gratification, every time you choose structure over sloppiness, every time you complete what you started, you are strengthening the foundation upon which greatness is built. Self-discipline is what separates goals from results. Most people have goals. Many people make plans. But only disciplined people execute. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is bridged by consistent action. You cannot climb the ladder of success with excitement alone. You must climb it with commitment. That means showing up when you don't feel like it. Pushing through when progress seems slow and keeping your eyes on the long-term reward rather than the short-term comfort. The reward of discipline is not just achievement. It is transformation. You become a different person. You become trustworthy with your own potential. A disciplined person does not wait for motivation. They live by conviction. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather, but conviction is rooted. It is the internal compass that guides your behavior, not based on how you feel, but based on what you believe. Discipline means you have established priorities, and you protect those priorities with boundaries. You are no longer available to every distraction. You will no longer react to every emotion. You move from being driven by feelings to being led by principles. Time management is a discipline. Energy management is a discipline. Emotional regulation is a discipline. Focus is a discipline. These are not traits that some are born with and others are not. They are developed through intentional practice. You can train your brain to focus. You can train your body to rise early. You can train your habits to serve your goals. But you must be willing to endure the discomfort of transition. Because discipline is often painful before it is powerful. It feels like sacrifice at first, but in time, it produces strength, stability, and success. Discipline also brings freedom. While the undisciplined live under the illusion of freedom, they are actually slaves to impulse, procrastination, and regret. True freedom is not doing what you want when you want. True freedom is the ability to control your choices so that your future is not dictated by your weaknesses. A disciplined life is a free life. You are free from chaos, free from guilt, free from the weight of wasted time. You are free to move forward, to build, to lead, to grow. You cannot delegate discipline. No one can do it for you. It is your personal responsibility. It begins the moment you decide that your future is worth more than your comfort. It is enforced every time you rise above excuses and do the work. It is maintained every time you guard your habits, your time, and your focus like sacred territory. And it becomes a lifestyle when you stop negotiating with distractions and start honoring your purpose with action. If you study the lives of the most effective people, those who lead, create, build, and sustain you will discover a common thread: daily discipline. They don't just work hard, they work well. They don't just act, they act with consistency. They're not moved by pressure, they're stabilized by principles. They manage their mornings, their thoughts, their habits, their routines, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. They understand that discipline is the structure that protects success. Without it, all growth collapses under the weight of inconsistency. To live without discipline is to gamble with your destiny. It is to hope that someday things will fall into place without your intentional involvement. But to live with discipline is to step into the driver's seat of your own life. It is to build with purpose, live with order, and become the kind of person who doesn't just wish for greatness, but walks it out daily, one decision at a time. Your mind is the control tower of your life. Everything you experience, interpret, pursue, and manifest flows from how you think. The mind is not just a place where ideas exist. It is the birthplace of decisions, the factory of beliefs, and the gateway to your behavior. A dull mind leads to a dull life. An untrained mind becomes vulnerable to confusion, manipulation, and stagnation. That is why sharpening your mind is not a luxury, it is a mandate. It is not something you do when life slows down or when you have free time. It is something you must do every single day because your future depends on it. A sharp mind is an informed mind, a disciplined mind, and a discerning mind. It does not accept things at surface level. It questions, analyzes, reflects, and grows. A sharp mind is not just about intelligence, it is about intentionality. It is not about knowing everything, it is about being hungry to learn, to understand, and to apply truth with wisdom. In a world flooded with information but starved of wisdom, the sharp mind stands out because it filters noise, sees patterns, and makes decisions with clarity. Your success in life is not determined by how much you know, but by how well you think. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. If you think small, you will live small. If your mind is filled with fear, limitation, or confusion, it will shape how you see opportunities, how you handle adversity, and how you respond to challenges. That is why renewing your mind is essential. You must constantly expose yourself to higher thoughts, deeper truths, and constructive perspectives. Reading, studying, journaling, meditating, and reflecting are not just academic exercises, they are spiritual and mental disciplines that develop mental sharpness. They help you upgrade your internal operating system so that you can function at a higher level. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. Left unchecked, it will replay lies, build unhealthy narratives, and limit what you believe is possible. But when it is sharpened, it becomes your greatest asset. It begins to produce ideas, solutions, and clarity that move your life forward. A sharpened mind knows how to respond under pressure. It does not panic when plans change. It adapts, it learns, and it grows. It doesn't just survive in crisis, it finds opportunities in the chaos. That level of clarity and creativity does not come by accident. It comes by daily mental sharpening. Sharpening your mind requires you to be selective about what you consume. Everything you watch, read, and listen to is feeding your mind something. If you feed it fear, you will live in anxiety. If you feed it wisdom, you will live with confidence. You must guard your mental diet the same way you guard your physical health. A mind filled with gossip, negativity, and distractions cannot produce focused, powerful results. You must eat content that challenges your thinking, stretches your perspective, and aligns. Sharpening also means surrounding yourself with people who challenge your mind. If you are always the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. Growth demands exposure. You must expose your thinking to people who think differently, who know more, who have experience in areas you've yet to explore. These interactions sharpen your thinking, break mental limitations, and expand your capacity to solve problems and lead with wisdom. Iron sharpens iron, and dull conversations keep you mentally lazy. Be intentional about your environment. It either sharpens your thinking or numbs your awareness. Your purpose, your leadership all require a sharp mind. You will be faced with complex decisions, unpredictable changes, and high-stakes environments. Emotional reactions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. You must have the mental clarity to assess, strategize, and lead through uncertainty. That clarity only comes when you have trained your mind through daily reading, critical thinking, and disciplined reflection. You cannot rise into your purpose with a distracted, underdeveloped mind. Mental sharpness also brings confidence. When your mind is sharp, your voice becomes clear. Your communication becomes more precise. Your vision becomes more compelling. People follow clarity. They respect intelligence that is grounded in purpose and shaped by discipline. You begin to speak with authority not because you're loud, but because you're clear. That clarity comes from thinking deeply, learning constantly, and processing life through the lens of purpose, not pressure. Every great leader is a great thinker. Every innovator is a problem solver. Every person of impact has cultivated the habit of sharpening their mind not once a year, but every day. They don't wait for challenges to think deeply. They think deeply before the challenge arrives. They prepare mentally for where they are going so they can recognize opportunities when they show up. They are not reactive. They are proactive thinkers, constantly renewing, refining, and recalibrating their minds to serve their assignment with excellence. Sharpening your mind is how you honor your calling. It is how you become a faithful steward of the gift of intellect. Your ideas, your leadership, your impact all flow from how well you think. The sharper your thinking, the stronger your influence. That is why sharpening your mind must never be optional. It must be a non-negotiable part of your daily life. Emotions are powerful forces. They're invisible, yet they shape everything visible in your life, your decisions, your relationships, your actions, and your reactions. They are not wrong, but they must be managed. They are not your enemy, but they must not be your master. Emotional management is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not the denial of feeling, but the discipline of response. When you learn to manage your emotions, you gain the ability to navigate life with clarity, stability, and power. A person who cannot govern their emotions will always be governed by circumstances. Emotional mastery is not about pretending to be unaffected. It is about being unshaken in the middle of emotional waves. Everyday life brings a range of emotional experiences: joy, disappointment, stress, fear, hope, sadness, anger. These emotions are real, and they have a purpose. Emotions signal that something matters to you. They are indicators, not dictators. You must feel them, but you must not allow them to lead you. When emotions are unmanaged, they distort your vision. You can't see clearly when you're overwhelmed. You say things you later regret. You sabotage progress in a moment of panic. You make permanent decisions in temporary emotional states. That's why emotional management is one of the highest forms of leadership, especially self-leadership. It allows you to act based on purpose rather than react based on pressure. Maturity is not measured by age. It is measured by emotional control. A person who is always triggered, easily offended, or constantly on edge is not yet mature, no matter their achievements. Emotional strength is the ability to pause before you respond, to process before you speak, to step back before you move forward. It is having the inner discipline to interpret your emotions without being imprisoned by them. When your emotions are in control, your decisions are clearer, your relationships are healthier, and your progress is sustainable. Unmanaged emotions lead to burnout, bitterness, broken trust, and missed opportunities. Managing your emotions does not mean suppressing them. It means identifying them, understanding them, and then choosing the right response. This begins with self-awareness. You must become a student of your own emotional patterns. What triggers you? What calms you? What distracts you from truth and what anchors you in clarity? When you are aware of your emotional tendencies, you can develop tools and strategies to stay centered. You can breathe through anxiety, speak truth to fear, walk away from provocation, or take a moment to reset your perspective before engaging. Emotional intelligence is a skill that must be practiced daily. It affects how you handle conflict, how you give and receive feedback, how you listen to others, and how you interpret the actions of those around you. The emotionally intelligent person is not controlled by assumptions, gossip, or projections. They don't just react to surface-level issues. They discern deeper causes. They understand that most emotional explosions come from unhealed wounds, unspoken expectations, or unresolved stress. Instead of being part of the chaos, they become an agent of calm. They carry peace in a storm because they have made peace within themselves. Your emotional health affects your mental clarity, your physical wellness, and even your spiritual awareness. Chronic stress, for example, is not just a mood issue. It weakens your body, clouds your thinking, and limits your ability to focus. That's why taking care of your emotional well-being is not selfish. It's strategic. Practices like journaling, prayer, reflection, deep breathing, and mindful breaks are not luxuries. They are necessities for emotional regulation. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lead others well if you are constantly reacting out of emotional depletion. Taking ownership of your emotional space is part of being a responsible, effective, and stable human being. You must also protect your emotional environment. The people you spend time with, the conversations you entertain, and the content you consume all impact your emotional atmosphere. Toxic people drain emotional energy. Gossip breeds insecurity. Negative media fuels fear and frustration. You must be vigilant about what you allow to shape your inner world. Peace is not found in perfect circumstances. It is cultivated through intentional boundaries. Learn to walk away from arguments that don't serve you. Let go of offenses that weigh you down and distance yourself from emotional chaos that threatens your growth. One of the greatest marks of emotional mastery is the ability to remain kind when others are unkind, to remain grounded when others are reactive, and to remain focused when others are distracted. Emotional management is not passive. It is powerful. It is the silent strength that keeps you from burning bridges, quitting prematurely, or acting out of character. It allows you to lead under pressure, love through difficulty, and continue moving forward even when your heart is heavy. It gives you the emotional resilience to rise again after failure, to heal after hurt, and to hope again after disappointment. Your emotions are part of you, but they are not all of you. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your sadness. You are the one who experiences them, but you are also the one who decides what to do with them. That power to choose your response is what makes you stronger than any emotion you feel. When you live from that place of awareness and authority, you become unshakable, not because life is easy, but because you've learned to lead yourself through whatever life brings. Relationships are not accessories in life. They are highways. Every relationship you allow into your life is either accelerating your progress or slowing you down. No one rises in isolation and no one falls alone. The people you surround yourself with are either watering your potential or draining your purpose. They are either calling out the best in you or constantly pulling you back into cycles you've already outgrown. That's why being intentional about your relationships is not optional. It's essential. Who you walk with is shaping where you're going and how fast you're getting there. Every relationship is an influence. Influence is not always loud, but it is always present. The people in your space are shaping your thoughts, your habits, your language, and your vision. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, your standards either rise or fall to match your environment. You begin to absorb the attitudes, the energy, the focus, or the lack thereof of those closest to you. If your circle is full of vision, discipline, and growth, you will be challenged to grow. But if your circle is full of trauma, negativity, and excuses, you will find yourself stuck, repeating the same cycles, wondering why nothing is moving forward. You must assess your relationships not just by how long you've known someone, but by how well they align with your assignment. Longevity is not loyalty. Proximity is not purpose. Some people were meant to be part of your history, not your destiny. Holding on to familiar people out of comfort can keep you from connecting with the right people for your next level. Growth often requires separation before it brings elevation. When you begin to take your life seriously, you must be willing to outgrow certain conversations, detach from toxic connections, and invest in people who sharpen your thinking and strengthen your walk. Healthy relationships are partnerships in growth. They challenge you to be better, not bitter. They correct you in love. They celebrate your progress. They speak truth even when it's uncomfortable. They help you see your blind spots without shaming you. They remind you of your value when you forget. These relationships are rare, but they are priceless. They may not always be convenient, but they are always constructive. When you find people who believe in your potential and push you toward your purpose, honor them, protect the connection, and be that same kind of person in return. Unhealthy relationships often disguise themselves with familiarity, but they are marked by patterns of emotional instability, competition, manipulation, and distraction. These relationships take more than they give. They drain your peace, consume your time, and derail your focus. They may not look destructive at first, but over time you'll notice that your joy decreases, your confidence wavers, and your dreams feel heavier. The danger of these relationships is not always in what they do to you, but in what they distract you from. They distract you from growth. They distract you from purpose. They keep you emotionally entangled in cycles that prevent clarity and direction. Evaluating relationships requires honesty. You must be willing to ask hard questions. Does this relationship make me better? Does it align with where I'm going? Does it support the values I'm living by? If the answer is no, then distance is not disloyalty, it's stewardship. You are responsible for protecting your environment. Every gardener knows that pruning is necessary for growth. Removing certain connections does not mean you lack love. It means you have learned wisdom. You cannot carry everyone into your future. Some were only meant to walk with you through a season. Your acceleration is often unlocked through divine connections, people who carry what you need and need what you carry. These relationships create synergy. They expand your thinking, open doors, and provide accountability. They are not intimidated by your potential. They're inspired by it. They don't just tolerate your growth, they celebrate it. The right relationships elevate you. They stretch your faith, challenge your complacency, and invite you to dream bigger. They remind you that you were never meant to do life alone, but that the quality of those walking with you determines the strength of your journey. You must learn the difference between connections and attachments. A connection empowers you. An attachment controls you. A connection speaks life. An attachment creates drama. A connection brings peace. An attachment thrives on chaos. If someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, devalues your purpose, or distracts your progress, that is not a connection. It is an anchor. And no matter how skilled you are, you cannot accelerate while dragging unnecessary weight. Relationships are mirrors. They reflect what you tolerate and what you believe you deserve. That's why personal growth always shifts your relational patterns. As you grow, your standards rise. You begin to see more clearly. You stop settling for emotional immaturity disguised as loyalty. You stop ignoring red flags out of fear of being alone. You learn that peace is better than popularity. Purpose is more important than comfort. And alignment is more valuable than attachment. Your relational choices are shaping your emotional climate, your mental clarity, and your destiny trajectory. When you choose wisely, relationships become divine accelerators. When you choose carelessly, they become detours. Every connection you make is either adding value to your purpose or stealing energy from it. That is why you must evaluate, protect, and cultivate your relationships with wisdom, discernment, and intention.